Mike with Frankly Horse Racing, and we're going to do a quick recap of the weekend at Saratoga, the Belmont weekend, the good, the bad, and the ugly version. So we'll go through a little bit of that, and my initial thoughts on the Belmont was I thought maybe journalism had the trigger pulled a little bit too early, but it didn't matter. Sovereignty was a monster that day, and I'll talk about that race in just a few minutes, but Sovereignty is part of the good. The rain this weekend, as we'll get into in this in a moment, did cause some issues, but overall, I think there was a lot of good and exciting racing, even though, clearly the turf was a mess. So let's get into the good, the bad, and the ugly. So the good is Sovereignty. For me, watching the way he ran, he was so loaded early on. I thought he was too keen and too close to the pace, but he just had that much horse. Alvarado was totally loaded. There's a reason why Mott was so confident, and that horse just looked like a monster. And I'll even give Kenny McPeak some credit, because on his show or podcast, whatever we call them these days, they asked him, and he said he was a monster and they weren't going to beat him, and he was absolutely correct on that. So I thought Sovereignty clearly falls in the good category. I could give journalism an asterisk because I thought he ran very well. Those two were so far superior to everybody else. And Umberto didn't get him in trouble this time. Again, I feel, and we all have opinions, and I feel he maybe pulled the trigger a little early, but I don't really think it mattered. At least he didn't get him stuck and held in the inside like he tends to do. And early on, though, he was wide. I mean, he was at a 7-hole. I didn't think he tried to get position, but it didn't matter. To me, Sovereignty was just so far superior at this time. Plus, you had a horse that was his third race in how many weeks? Not many, right? So anyway, no excuses for journalism. Sovereignty is the man right now, and that is for sure. The other one I had this weekend that was part of the good was AG Bullet. I had noted this horse and was waiting for her to come back. She came back against the boys, and quite honestly, when I was handicapping, I totally missed that, didn't even notice. But when I saw how, surprisingly, I think it was the same jockey, Umberto Rispoli, and I'm not trying to dog on him because I think he's a good jockey, but he had her so snapped up on the rail. She had no shot at all last time. I handicapped this race, and the 2-horse was the big favorite. I had bet that horse 3 times in a row, and I really liked Think Big again. But AG Bullet's numbers to me were far superior. She was getting back with a different jockey, Johnny Velasquez, and I felt like if he got position, she was going to be tough to beat. And that's the way it proved out to be. So the two did have a little bit of problems early in the race, but I don't think it would have mattered. Kind of like with the Sovereignty. AG Bullet just rolled in that race, and I was very happy to see it. I forget who ran in the next race, the 2-horse. I liked him in the favorite. Gosh darn it, it's escaping me right now. But anyway, it was the 2-horse in that final turf race that I liked that just got stuck a little early and almost won there. That would have been a nice payoff for me. But either way, Sovereignty and AG Bullets are my good for this weekend of the Belmont Stakes weekend. Now let's go to the bad. So we'll just jump to the bad. There's the ugly. But we'll look at the bad right now. The bad, I'm going to take myself for the bad this weekend because I got tired. Hey, I made a couple mistakes. Number one, I had a viewer kind of bringing to my attention. I was maybe a little bit, I would say, biased against the winner of the Met Mile. And I would say, yeah, I guess I was, because when I was going through the numbers, I was so stuck on how, daggone it, now it's escaping me. Now I got to bring it up. So let's take this for a second. And this is the journalism race. And this is Sunday's race. So let's bring this up here. Sorry, this is going to take a second. And we'll go to Saratoga. Hey, we'll fill a little bit. That's okay. As I've told y'all before, my brain gets a little bit slow. And so it does cause me issues. Although, now that I'm thinking about it, I believe the Mad Mile was on the same day. So let's go here. Not there. There it is. Okay. Well, hey. I don't do a lot of editing. I don't do a lot of cutting. What you see is what you get. That's who I am. All right, here we go. So let's take a look at this. Raging Torrent was my number one horse. As you can see on my screen here, this is the way I initially picked it. Now, never be afraid to be flexible when it comes to race day because you got to make game time decisions. When I looked at it more and more on race day, I just didn't see anybody that had the speed to go with Raging Torrent on the front end, and Fierceness numbers have been so superior to everybody else that that I got locked in too hard on that. So in that race, the only play I made was an exacta Fierceness over Raging Torrent, and like a fool, I didn't even turn it over, even though, even with my dad's algorithm from the late 70s that I showed, that day there was only two horses that reached into the 200s, and Raging Torrent was the other one. So I got a little stuck in my mind, which we all do. That one was definitely worth turning over because it was a $46 exacta. Even if I turned it over for a 10 spot, still would have been looking pretty good. So I got to take the hit on that one myself, and you know, hey, sometimes you just got to say what it is. It was me. The other bad I'm going to give is myself again, and that was in the race with Journalism and Sovereignty. And game day or the day before, even though I think my preview video, I picked Journalism and Sovereignty close, but I think I picked Sovereignty or Journalism on top. On game day on the Derby, I went straight Sovereignty. Turned it over a little bit with Journalism and a couple others, but it was Sovereignty. And in this race here, there was just nobody but those two to me. I knew they'd be battling it out towards the end, and I wrapped it up that way. The problem is I wrapped it up a little more with Journalism on top of a horse that I bet to win the Derby and was a little bit better odds in that one. The exacta wasn't huge, but you're still getting pretty decent money for the wager. So yes, I was a little bit frustrated with myself on that one. Let's make that a little bigger. So the bad is me, but we all do that. But I also did a lot of good. I had AG Bullet. I had a couple good runs in there. So like any day in horse racing, you're gonna have a little good, a little bad. You got to keep swinging, right? Now the ugly was just the rain to me, because the rain just absolutely destroyed a lot of what it should have been with pick fives, pick fours. I'm sure they lost quite a bit in revenue on that. But, I mean, you can't control the weather, but it got terrible out there, you know. I'm glad that they saved and held the two races for the next day and at least put those in when they had a chance. And the other part of the ugly to me, it's just these long days. And I start to wonder, with the conspiracy theorist inside of me, is it to wear you down so you're making a lot of silly wagers? So with that, if you're looking at other tracks, I highly recommend sticking with one or two tracks at the most on these days. And I know me, as I get older and with my treatments and everything else, I have a hard time really paying attention to everything and staying on top. And that's where you make mistakes and you lose money, and quite frankly, without the benefits of proper management of your money, which you never know what's going to happen. They're horse races, but if you don't manage it well, then it makes it very tough to stay in this game. But I'm going to pat myself on the back on the bad, because I did a few good things, and you know, I could have put in the good also. John Velasquez had a really good weekend. Quite a few jockeys and trainers had a very good weekend, and I could have put that in there, and maybe I should have. But I put it how I see. So the good to me was Sovereignty, the way he ran, and AG Bullet, who was a horse I was waiting on and really was happy to see. The bad was just me for some decisions I made. And with the Met Mile, by the numbers, he could have beat. He had one race that could have beat Fierceness, and I knew he was the only sprinter with that front speed. The other ones were classics and coming back. So that was my fault. You make mistakes. And the ugly was just the rain kind of put a damper on a lot of things at Saratoga, but it still ended up being a great weekend and the long day. So I hope that you're on the same page on some of these. If not, let me know in the comments. It was great hearing from some of you this weekend, and I hope that you have a great week. We'll have a few things coming out this week. I've got the honeydew list to get taken care of and a few other things, but I'll get some things out. We'll find some races and some things to talk about. I do have a couple, I think, pace make the race that we can show for this week, and hopefully I can get those up by Wednesday. This is Frank with Frankly Horse Racing. Let others know about us, please. Hit the subscribe button and the like button, and show me or send me any comments you have. I'm happy to answer. Take care. Have a great one. We'll talk to you soon.